Have you ever felt a sudden chill while walking alone at night? Not because you heard something, not because you saw something, but because something deep inside your mind whispered, "Be careful." What's strange is that this feeling doesn't come from modern life. It doesn't come from cities, smartphones, or the news. It comes from a fear that may be hundreds of thousands of years old. A fear hidden inside your brain long before roads, houses, or civilization ever existed. And even today, it's still quietly controlling your decisions. The question is, what exactly is your brain so afraid of? To answer that, we need to travel back to a world that no longer exists. A world where humans were not the hunters. We were the hunted. For most of human history, survival was never guaranteed. Modern humans have existed for roughly 300,000 years. But cities, agriculture, and civilization are incredibly recent. For over 95% of our existence, humans lived as small groups of hunter-gatherers. No locks, no police, no hospitals, no safe place to hide. Every day was a survival challenge, and unlike today, humans were not sitting comfortably at the top of the food chain. Ancient landscapes were filled with predators, massive cats, hyenas, wolves, crocodiles, even giant birds in some regions. For our ancestors, danger wasn't an occasional event. It was part of everyday life. If you were careless, you didn't get a second chance. Natural selection was ruthless. The humans who ignored danger often didn't survive long enough to pass on their genes. The ones who were cautious did, and over thousands upon thousands of generations, something remarkable happened. Fear became built into the human brain. Not learned, built in. A survival system designed to keep us alive. But here's where things get interesting. Your brain doesn't just remember dangers you've personally experienced. It reacts to threats that your ancestors experienced. Threats so ancient that you may not even realize why they scare you. Take darkness. Most people don't like being alone in complete darkness. Even adults. Even people who know they're safe. Why? After all, darkness itself isn't dangerous. But for prehistoric humans, darkness meant uncertainty. Predators hunted at night. You couldn't see what was approaching. You couldn't easily defend yourself. Research suggests humans are naturally more alert in darkness because for most of our evolutionary history, darkness often increased risk. Your brain still remembers that. Not consciously. Instinctively. And darkness is only the beginning. Think about snakes. Many people fear snakes despite never having been harmed by one. Some even react instantly to snake-like shapes before fully recognizing what they're looking at. Scientists have found evidence that the human visual system detects snakes unusually quickly compared to many other objects. Some researchers believe this may be the result of millions of years of evolutionary pressure. In ancient environments, recognizing a snake a fraction of a second faster could mean the difference between life and death. The same may be true for spiders. Not everyone fears them, but many people do. Far more than would be expected if fear came only from personal experience. It's as if the brain arrives preloaded with certain warning signals, ancient danger labels inherited from a much older world. But there is one fear that may be even older, and far more powerful. The fear of being alone. Imagine a human living 100,000 years ago. Not in a city, not in a village. Completely alone. No tribe, no family, no protection. For our ancestors, isolation was incredibly dangerous. Humans survived because they cooperated. They shared food, shared knowledge, shared protection. A lone human faced overwhelming odds, which means evolution favored people who stayed connected to their group. Some psychologists believe that the emotional pain of loneliness may partly exist because social isolation historically threatened survival. In other words, loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's an alarm system. Your brain telling you that something important may be missing. Even today, social rejection activates some of the same brain regions involved in physical pain. Think about that. Your brain treats social exclusion as something serious enough to hurt. Because in the ancient past, it often was. But perhaps the strangest ancient fear hides somewhere even deeper. A fear most people rarely notice. The fear of uncertainty. Humans have an incredible need to know what's coming next. We check weather forecasts, read reviews before buying things, plan our careers, make schedules, create routines. We constantly try to predict the future. Why? Because uncertainty once carried enormous risk. For prehistoric humans, not knowing where food was located could be deadly. Not knowing whether another group was friendly could be dangerous. Not knowing what was hiding beyond the next hill could become a fatal mistake. Your brain evolved to reduce uncertainty whenever possible. That's why unanswered questions can feel uncomfortable. Why surprises can make us anxious. Why our minds often create worst-case scenarios. The brain would rather imagine a possible threat than completely ignore one. From an evolutionary perspective, false alarms were often safer than missed dangers. Imagine hearing a rustle in the bushes. One person assumes it's a predator and runs. Another assumes it's nothing. If it turns out to be the wind, the first person wasted some energy. If it turns out to be a predator, the second person may not survive. Evolution tends to favor caution. And that's exactly what happened. Your brain became a prediction machine constantly scanning for threats, even when there aren't any. Which brings us to a fascinating problem. The world changed, but the brain didn't change nearly as fast. Modern life is incredibly different from prehistoric life. Most people no longer face predators. Most people sleep behind locked doors. Most people have access to food every day, yet the ancient fear system remains active. The result? Sometimes your brain misfires. The same mechanisms that once protected your ancestors can create anxiety in a world where the dangers are very different. That nervous feeling before a presentation? Your brain may interpret social judgment as a survival threat. The discomfort of being left out? An ancient alarm system warning against isolation. The unease you feel walking through darkness? A prehistoric survival program still running in the background. Your brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do. The problem is that it evolved for a world that disappeared thousands of years ago. And here's the twist. These fears weren't weaknesses. They were superpowers. They helped fragile humans survive impossible odds. Humans weren't the strongest animals. We weren't the fastest. We didn't have claws or fangs. Yet somehow, we spread across nearly every environment on Earth. Part of that success came from intelligence. Part came from cooperation. But part came from fear. Fear kept us alert. Fear kept us cautious. Fear kept us alive long enough to learn, adapt, and survive. Without fear, humanity might never have made it this far. The emotion we often dislike today may have been one of the greatest survival tools our species ever developed. So the next time you feel that strange discomfort in the dark, or that uneasy feeling when you're completely alone, remember this. You are not experiencing a modern emotion. You are hearing an ancient voice. A voice that has been passed down through countless generations. A voice that once protected people living in caves, crossing frozen landscapes, and surviving against impossible odds. A voice hidden deep inside your brain. Older than civilization. Older than history. Perhaps older than anything else about you. And even now, it's still watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel, as your likes and subscriptions boost our morale. And join us for more stories about the strange, fascinating secrets buried inside human history, evolution, and the human mind. Because sometimes, the most mysterious thing in the universe isn't out there. It's inside your own head.